The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here he is, Brandon.
Happy holidays to you and yours, and welcome back to the Brandon Peters Show. Joining me for this annual celebratory episode of some niche holiday media, author and now playwright extraordinaire, Press Maxson.
Thank you. Brandon, it's so good to be back. This is at least our third Christmas
This
together.
is the third one. Yeah.
This is the third one. Okay.
I think it's the third one, or maybe it's... What did we start with? We had the Muppet one.
Started with Muppets.
Did I have you for Christmas randomly anyway before that, and then you started calling out the Christmas ones?
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, the Muppet one, the coffee one was, I feel like, one of the best podcasts.
That was a hit. Yeah.
Been on. Yeah. And here we are with in my opinion, a true puzzler of a movie. But
oh man. Gotcha. Is the holiday season going good for you this year?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Obviously, at time of recording here, we've just returned from Christmas at my in-laws. Just doing the final touches on our Christmas here with my parents. So I'm like kind of halfway between celebrations, and I'm feeling good, feeling energized, but also glad tomorrow's Monday and I don't have to focus on work.
Gotcha.
And just be in holiday mode. I'm glad I'm here. We're here.
It's the week of.
What about you? Are you feeling?
I got to work this week. But I'm good. It's slow. It's like everybody's like, let's just go home at like 1 or 2. So a lot of people request it, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll be okay. It's like whatever. I'll just make them feel guilty for being open for us to be here, because I really don't understand why we're open at all during this, but our clients are closed. So why are we open?
It's brutal.
Yeah, it's weird. But it is what it is. I've been enjoying this season. I've been it's weird at this time of year because I want to watch holiday classics and stuff, but I'm also knee deep in like award season screeners and stuff to watch for my end of the year movie list and stuff like that. So that takes up most of my time, plus Blu-rays and 4Ks that I'm trying to get in for that list of the year. So it's like I squeeze them in here and there where I can. I did watch the Nate Bargatze holiday special.
Oh, the Nashville Christmas?
The Nashville Christmas. It was fine.
I did not see that, but I did see a Nate Bargatze, just like a Netflix special or something. I saw it on an airplane 2 weeks ago. And so I feel like I'm up to speed with him.
Yeah, he's got one coming out Christmas Day or Christmas Eve too. So yeah.
Really? Okay.
On Netflix,
I like him. I think he's funny. I think so much of his stuff, if I read it, might not be super funny, but the way like his delivery,
it can only come out of him. Yeah,
exactly. And I love that. The same way, like when I hear a song and I think this song wouldn't grab me if it was sung by anyone other than this artist, or if it was played by anything other than this band, who really can make it work. So that's how I feel about him. I have not watched enough holiday stuff. Like our kids are all over it. So I see what they see. We have watched Muppet Family Christmas so far this year. But we haven't done some of the other classics just because I feel like it's been a shorter season. Thanksgiving was later this year.
Right.
So we lost a week and
I've been busy myself. Like the weekend after Thanksgiving, I was in Chicago shooting a Doctor Who documentary, and then the following weekend I was back in Chicago shooting a different Doctor Who documentary. So that was 2 weekends like where things can happen, get done. I did watch the Friday after the Thanksgiving. Is when we put up our tree and stuff, and during that we watched, as always, the Pee-wee's holiday special.
I saw Pee-wee this year.
And then
we turned on Pee-wee one night.
My daughter wanted to watch Church on Ruby Road, which was the most recent Doctor Who Christmas special. So
Okay.
I was like, okay. And she's like, can we watch that? Can we watch it? I'm like, yes, we sure can. And my wife looked at me. I was like, nope, she chose it. She chose it.
Wow.
So yeah.
Nice.
But I need to get in It's a Wonderful Life. I need to get in Black Christmas, um, Gremlins. If I can get, yeah, and Christmas Vacation. Have not watched yet.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
I haven't done Vacation yet.
We did Christmas Story. I remember that. Yeah, we did do Christmas
Oh, I
Story
haven't.
like
Yeah.
couple we were playing. Oh, my daughter wanted to play board games, and we had that on while we were playing. So
I
did do
think
that
my
one.
kids did have that on at some point. I have not been tracking.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it the whole way. But yeah, Christmas Story is a huge one for me. I don't sit through all of White Christmas, but that's one that goes on in the background at
Yeah,
some
yeah.
point.
It's
Like
a
I haven't done that one yet this year
Yeah,
either.
it came out on 4K Ultra HD this year. I did not buy it, even though I collect.
Okay.
So that one's directed by Michael Curtiz, and same director as Casablanca,
Oh,
not Treasure Sierra Madre, but he's done like tons of amazing films. But yeah, it's
hmm.
one of his, and have not picked up the 4K for that.
Yeah.
I reviewed the one of the Blu-ray releases, and they sent me the full soundtrack with it too. That was which
Wow.
odd. There's odd things that come with these. Like I got
Yeah.
Twisters for review. And then like 2 days later, I got the vinyl of the, the soundtrack for Twisters.
Huh.
I'm not a country
That could be
music guy,
cool.
but it was a free item, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I
For
was like,
sure.
okay, don't know any of these, but all right. Well, thank you for sending me this record. Like,
That's kind of cool.
yeah, it was kind of cool. So
All right.
it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
But you know what? There is one we both watched this year already.
that's
The
true.
1987 television movie classic Christmas Comes to Willow Creek.
Tonight, sworn enemies thrown together. Two brothers and one woman in a cross-country race to save a town in trouble. But will they get there in time to make a very special delivery?
We got a lady on board, and she is in labor.
My stars and garters.
John Schneider and Tom Wopat in Christmas Comes to Willow Creek tonight.
Which is directed by Richard Lang, who has a long career in television, spanning from Charlie's Angels, Kung Fu, Fantasy Island, to Beverly Hills 90210, Melrose Place, and Jake and the Fat Man. Written by Michael Norrell on a story by Norrell and Andy Siegel, with suggested material by Peter L. Keyes. Funny enough, this is Peter L. Keyes' only credit ever. So they didn't want to get sued by him for taking some idea. He might go, hey, you know what you should do, guys?
He was like a PA or something.
Yeah. So this Norrell guy, he wrote for Nash Bridges, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, Love Boat, Emergency, and was a script coordinator for 29 episodes of NYPD Blue. And then, of course, it stars John Schneider, Tom Wopat, Kim Delaney, Zachary Ainsley, Joy Coghill, Anthony Holland, Hoyt Axton, and Barbara Russell. So Hoyt Axton has two Christmas classics to his name. Willow Creek, Alaska is going through a depression because the local cannery has shut down, putting many of the residents out of work. Ray and Pete are truck driving brothers, different as day and night, who are hired by an old friend to bring Christmas presents and one huge surprise from sunny California up to there. Along the way, Ray, Pete, and the latter's son, Michael, argue and get stuck in a blizzard, but they finally reconcile with each other. Okay,
That synopsis makes it sound
logical and
logical. It makes it sound, I almost said normal. But
suppressed.
I mean,
Why
there's a
Christmas?
lot of nuances here.
Yeah, why Christmas Comes to Willow Creek?
Okay, thanks for asking. This
Yeah.
was my suggestion.
Yes.
This was my suggestion. I think, you and I are of the same generation. I think this was one that, while I didn't watch it in 1987, to my
No.
knowledge, I mean, I guess I could have. I turned 8 that year. I was 8 by Christmas, obviously. But it does have like this feel of like the cheesy made for TV Christmas event,
1000%.
that CBS or whoever probably like just was like, you know, Bo and Luke Duke, the actors who played Bo and Luke Duke from Dukes of Hazzard, John Schneider, Tom Wopat, are finally together again. I think they'd been off the air for 2 years at the time as
Mm-hmm.
Bo and Luke. So it's like the reunion you've been waiting for. They play brothers this time, you know. It just had this feel that I remember. And when I was thinking about, okay, what's like something obscure and kind of cheesy, but like
Yeah.
kind of fun to watch. I think I actually dreamed it up during our discussion. Was it this summer when we were talking about the Smashing Pumpkins thing? Was that it? I don't
Oh,
remember.
this summer we talked Ashley Simpson.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. So I think it was like during the discussion because I went into the discussion thinking, what am I going to recommend for Christmas? Um, but I'll tell you, so I was not aware of this movie, but a little history here. I
Okay.
loved Dukes of Hazzard when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
it
did. I
was
was a fan of it too.
yeah,
Yeah.
as people our age are, you know.
Yeah.
And
We
I was
didn't know anything
totally
about the car and like
no.
the flag on it was just that. I
I mean,
always associated with it. I thought the flag was like the Duke brothers thing till I
yeah,
learned more when I was growing up. I was like,
right.
okay.
Unfortunately, I think it desensitized me to the rebel flag in ways that I needed to learn a little bit later about,
Yeah.
because to me, I think I sort of assumed that symbol meant like, yeah, rebellion, but like rebellion from like a societal norm,
Yeah.
not rebellion from like taking away someone's personal freedom or whatever, you know? I mean, like I think I took that when I was a kid as like, oh, this is the spirit of like Bo and Luke Duke, these two guys who are always like doing good,
We
but
were
the
sold the
cops are crooked.
rebranding of it. Yeah.
We were. But that aside, I loved that show. So when I went to college, during our college orientation, it's like they had a female student who was leading our orientation, and she made some offhanded, unimportant comment about, oh, when you meet your roommate, you never know what you'll bond over. You know, my roommate and I, we watched TNN, the Nashville network, which existed on
Yep.
cable back when I was in college and when you were in college. She said we meet at the dorm at 2 p.m. on Wednesdays every week to watch TNN, to watch Dukes of Hazzard on TNN. And I for she said it so offhandedly, but I kind of thought to myself, wait, Dukes of Hazzard is still on the air somewhere, and I hadn't seen it since I was like 7.
Yeah.
So once I was in college, I sort of made a point if I was ever home on a Wednesday afternoon at 2 to pop a blank tape in the VCR and tape whatever Dukes of Hazzard episode was on and like
Yeah.
watch it later. And so I learned a couple things quickly. I learned I was still enthralled by the nostalgia of Dukes of Hazzard in
Mm-hmm.
college. I learned that most episodes, there's not a lot of creative diversity. Most episodes, the same basic thing happens. But I loved the car chases. I loved the feel of the shoot. It was a cool setting and kind of made you long for a summer in the country, just speeding around back roads and
Yep.
stuff. And I got a book that said, because there were a couple of Dukes of Hazzard reunions
Yes.
after the show went off the air, but none within the first 2 years.
Right.
So here was the first time, and in the book it said the first time John Schneider and Tom Wopat were seen on screen together after Dukes was this. And the book made some offhanded comment about it didn't sit well with fans that their characters argue for 95% of the movie. That these characters don't like each other. Here everyone wanted to see the boys back at it together again,
Mm-hmm.
brothers in arms, but that's not what this movie is. So that's how I first heard of it.
Oh, so yeah, I watched Duke Hazard, but it's kind of got the same idea as like your Knight Rider, because
Mhm.
I was a huge fan of Knight Rider, and we
Yeah, me too.
actually on the show when I used to do Old Space Show, we went through the first season of Knight Rider, and it's okay. But like a
Of
lot of it
course,
feels like, hey, what kind of car stunt we doing this week? Okay,
yeah,
what can we write around this,
right,
But Knight Rider at least could change like the setting and the place they were at. Dukes of Hazzard was stuck in Hazard County
yeah,
for the most of it. And I yeah, I came to I didn't know this movie existed, but I totally, when you see it, you're like, if you were of this era, this time, these movies that they would try
yeah,
to put it. And
yeah.
I just wonder, how is Catherine Bach not the Kim Delaney part in this movie?
I
Like,
know. How'd she not get that role?
how did that not get offered? Like, I get
Yeah,
Hoyt Axton instead of Boss Hogg, got it, but
right.
I just don't. I'm like, that's like this one missing element that, like,
Yeah.
why is it not there? Why isn't that there?
Would
But
it
yeah,
have been too weird seeing Luke Duke, John Schneider and Catherine Bach in an actual like romantic
it
role
might have
together though?
unsettled people. The two guys fighting over Daisy. Yeah, maybe it would have unsettled people too.
Although in the early episodes of Dukes of Hazzard, like I even think in the pilot,
Hmm.
she makes some comment like someone was like, "Hey, you two kissing cousins?" And she makes some comment like, "Never stopped anyone in this family before," and runs away. So there were a few shades of that early on in the Dukes. So
Gotcha.
maybe that wasn't the thing.
Gotcha. Oh my gosh. So yeah, this movie, which there's not a lot of background on,
I
that
can't imagine there would be.
I didn't go super digging, but if I couldn't find basics, I was like, well, I'm done here. All I could find is the first reunion of John Schneider and Tom Wopat.
Well, you know what? Yeah, is my favorite game to play with you is what were they thinking in the boardroom?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
what
pitch
did the
me, yeah, the
what
boardroom,
the
yeah,
pitch sound like?
yeah.
So for me, this feels like a bunch of guys are sitting around and someone says, what would be a home run? John Schneider, Tom Wopat, buddy movie. And everyone's like, "Ugh." And then there's probably one guy, at least in my mind, who raises his hand and says, can't just have these two guys speeding around the countryside. What's the conflict? Let's make them hate each other. And then one guy in the room was like,
We'll make people. We want to make people like excited when they're back together and like each other again.
right,
We got to start them like that, and then you're like, oh, then you make
right,
them want for it, and we have a slot open in the Christmas season. We could,
right,
can we make
right,
it Christmas?
right. Kind of like a Smokey and the Bandit meets a Dukes of Hazzard. Like we'll put them in a semi racing against time.
Yeah, this could be like
You know,
totally like 10 different TV movies if they wanted.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that there's Christmas is only a small detail in this. They could save the town's 4th of July. They could save just the town. They could be bringing like some device for their cannery that could save it and open it again.
yeah,
They could do that. Like the whole movie is basically this guy's getting over fighting a girl in a truck ride across the country, and there are a ton of TV movies like this.
yeah.
Like this.
I okay, not to derail us too much here.
Yeah.
Movie idea. Let's get a little meta with it. I think it
Okay.
could work even today to have John Schneider, Tom Wopat, road trip movie
Okay.
playing themselves. It's a little meta situation. They're
Okay.
playing themselves, and if they don't get from New York to LA in time to shoot Dukes of Hazzard Christmas special reunion, then the whole production goes under. But they get caught in a huge snowstorm.
Right.
That's what I feel like that's what I want. I would legitimately watch that.
They weren't
I
doing
would,
meta back in '87 though.
No, you're right.
That was the
No, I'm saying it for now. It's for
right
now.
for now.
I would still watch that for now.
They went, Josh. Well, what's funny? I was because John Schneider's pretty outspoken in his MAGAism nowadays, but
Oh, is he? Yeah. I guess I don't pay enough
at the
attention.
Indiana Comics Convention this past year, they had him and his table was right next to George Takei. I was like, oh, that's not.
Oh yeah,
I
wow.
don't know, that's good. But yeah, he's very. I think his more stuff is more comes out of his religious stuff. That's all he stars in religious films, produces them nowadays, stuff like
I
that.
didn't know that.
Come a long way since he was Pa Kent on Smallville, but
well, I don't want to blow people's minds here, and I'm going to cover it on my phone.
Okay.
But this is legit.
Oh, you have his number.
Yeah. I've got.
Why
Tom
isn't he on
Wopat,
this episode with us?
because he doesn't answer my calls. I don't have it through any like honest means.
Oh, okay.
So I will admit I've called it a few times in the last decade.
Yeah.
Like, not proud of that necessarily. You shouldn't call people you don't know, just to,
Right.
especially someone.
It
who's
might not be
well-known.
his number even still. Or is it?
It may not now.
Yeah.
Because I have made a conscious choice to stop calling them when I'm like in a situation like this where I'm with some buddies, we're talking about Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, watch this. You put it on speaker, it goes to his voicemail. It's him. But I even after doing that a couple times, I never got blocked. So I was like, oh, okay.
All right.
But yeah, I haven't called that number.
Do you think
in a
it
long
says
time.
possibly press Maxson? Like
That would be hilarious.
Instead of
It
like
probably
possibly
does
spam,
these
it's like
days.
possibly press Maxson.
Right. It probably does these days. Well, here, like getting back to Christmas at Willow Creek here. So
Yeah.
here's, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I don't want to like just go diving in on flaws, but here's why I watch it for the charm, not because like the charm, like the 80s vibes, not
There's some wild
because
stuff in this.
there's flat out. There's some stuff that kind of doesn't make sense. There's wild stuff. I'm just talking fundamental storytelling. We're not talking about the wild stuff yet.
Yeah.
Just fundamental things. It's like I thought when I rewatched it this time, it's like, okay, they're setting up the Tom Wopat character to sort of be the guy who wins the girl back, maybe. He's like the guy who's trying to make it work with his own son. And he's, whereas the other guy, John Schneider, he's like hitting on the secretary and he's being kind of smarmy and he gets in bar fights. And clearly the girl that is his former wife or whatever, or his current wife, I'm not remembering it probably, but it's like she doesn't want anything to do with him, and he's clearly not listening to her on that. And so you're kind of like setting it up for when you find out she's with child, you're like, oh, they don't even tell you it's John Schneider's right away, and she never really even comes out and fesses up that it's his.
Yeah.
It's weird. But I was kind of expecting her to be like, it's Tom Wopat.
Oh yeah, they are like that. She had a when they left, he visited her one night, and that's where potentially came from. And he's like, I would raise that child.
Exactly,
No question.
exactly. He's like the good guy in it or something, But it doesn't go the way you think. It's not going that way.
No.
And John Schneider somehow they're all cool in the end. Like he wins her back even after being told repeatedly, never call me again. Never, whatever.
Yes.
So it's a very mixed message.
Yeah, they do set it up quite differently. Like, because I mean, John Schneider's first scene, if you are watching with a modern lens, is like, whoa,
Yeah.
Because he talks to this, like he comes in,
Cancelable immediately.
They're trying to make both of them look as much not Dukes of Hazzard as they possibly can. They've got facial hair. I mean, Schneider's got this like denim vest, and it just comes off total sexual predator to this secretary. And she's like, ha ha ha, I'm loving it, Yeah. He's like, how about them legs or whatever? It's just like, wow, okay.
That's right. He's like, aren't you supposed to get up and walk around the office a little so I can look at your legs? And like she laughs as if that's like the nicest thing anyone's ever said to her.
I love it when he comes in here and I feel unsafe.
I know.
Yeah, and Wopat's definitely set up to be like, oh, this poor guy, his son's an asshole, and he's trying, and it's like kind of like like it's really weird, this dichotomy of like, yeah, both these guys kind of suck.
I got a vibe with the son when he bonded with John
Hmm.
Schneider. Kind of got like a little bit of a what I thought might happen in like a 310 to Yuma situation. It never happened in 310 to Yuma,
Yeah.
but where like Christian Bale's son kind of like looks up to certain aspects of Russell Crowe, is supposed to be like this
Right.
badass guy, this bad guy or whatever. But it like ends way too like hallmarky in
Yeah.
Christmas Comes to Willow Creek versus it ends in kind of not that we're talking about 310 to Yuma, but I saw it recently and I was like, this ends in a like a massacre of everybody that I never saw coming
Yeah.
a little bit,
It's a cool
and
movie.
like I do like it,
Yeah.
but that's a whole different discussion. I there was like a few things, I love Monday morning armchairing movies and I'm not qualified to do that. But I was like, you could change one or two things and this would be an absolute modern classic.
Hmm.
And I just don't hear people talk about it that often.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's
anyway.
always it's typically listed in one of the better remakes of all time, so it does get
I don't think I
held
even
up
knew the
there.
first one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Well, anyway, so Christmas Comes to Willow Creek. I thought the other hilarious John Schneider moment is the pinkies, like,
Oh.
where
Yeah.
you're
While
like,
he's dating
wait,
this girl and does it
I
right in
know.
front of her, and like,
So I put myself in like my own shoes, and I'm like, all right, let's say I'm out to dinner. My wife and I are out to dinner with another couple, and I tell my friend's wife, hey, stick your pinky out now, and
yeah.
then like I rested on top of her. I wonder, and if I said like I am from Mars, I look just like humans, and I am just like a human in every way, other than my reproductive organs are in my pinky, and we are now making love. Like I couldn't do it with a straight face. And like in the movie, just like the secretary at the start in the movie, though, like everyone laughs and thinks it's like the most
Not
hilarious
Tom
thing.
Wopat. He's
Not
pissed.
Tom Wopat, but like the female. I mean,
Yeah.
if I did that, I feel like my wife would immediately be like, "Ew, what are you doing? Like, put your pinky down." And I
Hmm.
can imagine that the other friend's wife being like, okay," and my buddy would probably be like, "What the fuck, man?"
Yeah. Yeah, he's
You
like
know?
Snyder's like, "What's the matter? What's going on?
Yeah,
Don't
what's
you
going
ever
on
play
with
the
you?
alien pinky game? Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, completely. I thought that was, I feel like that was the
You wouldn't do
first
the alien
time.
pinky game with my son."
I feel like that was the first time in the movie where I really cocked my head. I was like, what is going on here? Like, what moment in the writer's room did they decide that that was the way to go? Like, there was
What if that was
surely
on-set improv by John Snyder?
maybe, but like, at what is there a moment in the writers' room where they're like bouncing off, like, oh, he could be flirty and say this, oh, this, and they decide the pinky thing
It's
is the
really
most.
awkward. Like
It's
even when
so
he's
awkward.
as he's
Yeah,
doing it, it's not just the reactions after. It's as he's doing it, it's like this is weird. What is going
yeah,
on?
yeah.
It's
I will say, if we're just talking about the storytelling and what it was like in the writers' room, I kind of dug the flashbacks. You just don't get that a ton these days to like help fill things in. Like, I don't know.
well, it
I
changes your
thought
perspective on them too.
it does. It
It's
does.
actually utilized quite what this movie is. The flashbacks are actually utilized quite well here.
I agree. And honestly, I felt seen a little bit. I haven't done
Yeah.
it in years, but the very first novel I wrote was um, the odd chapters were in the present, and the even chapters were like I'd kind of end a chapter on a cliffhanger or like with a question, and then I'd show you the flashback to the past that
Mhm.
answered the question or gave you the details. And then you're back in the present. And I alternated chapters like that for the entire book. So watching this and seeing them give you flashbacks, like rich flashbacks that are directly tied
Yeah.
to what they're talking about on the screen, I honestly felt seen. I felt a little validated.
There you
I
go.
was like, at least my book is in class with this classy Christmas movie.
I
Not
I
classy. Spoiler alert, y'all. It's not classy.
it's not classy. I gotta wonder too. Like, so Hoyt Axton is like he lives. There's this town. I forget where it was. I know Willow County, but or
Yeah.
Willow Creek, but their cannery closed. Everybody's jobless. They're like, this town ain't gonna exist for a while, but goddamn, Christmas is gonna save it. And this guy who used to live there,
yeah, you're right.
Hoyt Axton, coming from what, California? Is he coming from?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. He's gonna drive Christmas presents up there in a semi, and that's gonna
and it's gonna save the whole town.
Save the town.
The town.
And
you know what he had in that semi? He had a working economy that he was going to give.
Apparently. So he has like a heart attack and can't go, right?
Yeah.
Or something.
No.
Or it's not safe for him to go.
Right.
So both guys have to go do this because he was going to do it by
have
himself.
No idea why. Yeah.
He was going to do it by himself, but it's like, no, it's going to take two guys who have no attachment to this town to do it. Like, and their drama, like, if only the people in the town waiting for this could see what was happening on the drive there, I'd be like, fuck this town, we're done, we're screwed.
I know.
Like,
I know.
Just bickering, stopping off in Vegas, stopping off
Reno.
Oh yeah, not Vegas. We can't film in Vegas. Stopping off in Reno.
The son tries to steal a car.
Son tries to steal a car. They gotta stop off at the lover of one of them, the center of the quarrel.
So let's stop there for 1 second. I love that they find her not asleep. They find her pregnant in bed with a gun. They find her pregnant in bed with a gun in a completely like ramshackle place. It's like a fever dream, worst nightmare for a pregnant woman. And she's apparently insanely pregnant because within minutes she goes into labor. Like, what are the chances? What are the chances that you like pick her up, you get her in the car, up labor time? Yeah.
They treat this like moment of like going to get her and everything around her like as if it's like Cloverfield or like a disaster movie. It's like, I'm stuck.
We gotta get you out of here.
Gotta get her out of here. It's like, wait, what is going? Did I miss something?
She was in her bed.
Yeah.
She was in her bed. Like,
if they don't pick her up, she's probably calls an ambulance and she gives birth in a hospital and everything's fine. Like they put her in more danger essentially by picking her up.
Absolutely. Good thing. Speaking of fever dreams, good thing there's a magical shepherd and a mythical log cabin that apparently disappears as quickly as it appears.
But people witnessed it. And then there's the son, like he chooses the son, and then it's like, oh, this is what's gonna make him a good kid now and love his dad.
He chooses the son to help her through labor.
You need to see this child. Like, this is.
And then the dudes go out and they like start punching each other with all the sheep. I mean, that's really. I felt like that's where I was like, what is happening here? Like when we met this kind of sheep shaman guy who apparently has given birth or like helped.
He gives birth to sheep so he can give birth to human. It's the same thing.
Yeah. But then when they wake up or when they get back to the truck and the townspeople find them the next day and they're looking for the cabin and no one finds it, I have to admit, I was like, wait, what? That's this kind of movie? I was like, that's what we're doing here?
They hinted at nothing like this would be a...
No. Right.
Like, the next thing they could have done is look up at the sky and a star shined, like, real bright for a second. Like, oh, it's the North Star. Like,
or like they look around and they're like, and the one guy's like, where's my son? And they're like, he died 40 years ago. Like one of those like hooks where you're like, yeah, or like a star in the sky. And you're like, oh, that's where the shaman is.
Yeah. Like, just, you're right. You're like, this is that type of movie because it wasn't. There's nothing that starts this.
No. It's like if the movie's 100 minutes long, that comes in the 98th minute. You're like, wait, what?
Wait.
That's what we've been doing this whole time?
I mean, they have a whole cabin. So where
Yeah.
were they when this was happening? Were they just in the van or in the semi or in the like?
Yeah.
Hey, but they do get to the town. They deliver and it's safe. But because
Say,
they're gonna open a
say.
chili business and that's gonna
That's
save the
right.
town.
He's gonna open a chili business.
They
His
realize
chili
only
was
the poor
apparently
people who
quite
can't
good.
afford the chili can eat that chili in that town, right? It's not.
His chili was apparently very good.
Everybody's got a weird skill, right? So chili
You
making.
know, as I mentioned earlier, we just spent the weekend in my wife's hometown, which is a lot like Willow Creek. They closed, I'm not making this up, they closed the factory years ago, and the main street has died. I mean, the entire main street everything's boarded up. One Chinese restaurant has survived, a tattoo parlor has gone in, two tattoo parlors
Okay.
seem to be doing okay. Basically, everything else is boarded. The bar is even bad, where we went in there the night before Thanksgiving. My wife, me, my nephew, his fiance, and my sister-in-law, and we're the only people in there. Like the night before Thanksgiving is supposed to be one of the biggest bar
Yeah,
nights
that's
in
like
the
the biggest
world,
bar night of the year. Yeah.
right? So I feel like now, having watched this movie, I'm inspired. I think, okay, maybe sort of a like home delivery chili business is all this town needs
Yeah, man.
to
Just need
bounce
some
back, get
chili and
those
some Christmas
boards off the
presents.
window. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was inspired. Like, so I felt an inspiration too to look at like what are these towns in America, in the United States or whatever, that don't exist anymore. That were
Hmm.
something, and there used to be a town, and like now there's not. And like, can you
Yeah.
visit them? Are they still like what happens? Like people just move, and then like who's the last one there? Population of 2 or 1, and like
Well,
because there's got to be a ton of them
there
across
are
the United
things
States,
I've
especially in
heard
the
of stuff like that.
yeah.
It's interesting in my wife's town, not to just make this about that, but I have gotten a feeling from spending significant amounts of time there in the last, 15, 20 years, that the feeling is that like the factory dies, therefore the main drag dies.
Hmm.
But in their case, the community center, the activity where everything happens, has
Yeah.
shifted to the area high school. Friday nights, that's where, I mean, everyone roots for that football team.
Right.
The sports there are huge. The high school attracts from other smaller towns. And so their Fall Fest, their 4th of July, all the parties happen in the school parking lot. And you just get the feeling that's where like the center of activity moved because there's still a decent population there. They have a post office, like it's a
Yeah.
small town. You can throw a baseball and hit your neighbor. It's very, just little square lots down square streets.
Hmm.
Um, but I agree what you're talking about. I feel like you could probably follow some influencer who explores abandoned places and find
Right.
little towns like you're talking about where it really did just stop
I mean, they
happening.
probably use them to film zombie movies,
Right,
but
right.
yeah, just like some place that used to be hopping and just now is just
Mhm.
derelict, just gone.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, crazy.
I think there's a lot of that stuff in Europe too. I don't want to speak out of turn because I'm making a complete assumption here, but Europe is just like an older,
Hmm.
obviously the civilization is older there,
Yeah.
whereas in the United States, it does feel like we have a faster pace of progress. Europe had that 400 years ago
Yeah.
and has kind of evened out. All their architecture is older than ours for the most part.
Hmm.
Here, when something dies like that, my hypothesis is that it gets replaced more quickly. Whereas in Europe, it's just the spread of civilization has slowed, and like my aunt and uncle's town in northern Brittany, I wouldn't say is died. I think if my cousin heard me, he might say, "Oh, yes, it has." Uh, but I mean, it's still standing there, and I mean, I feel like I remember truly one restaurant left, and it's just this family that owns it, and they're open for like 2 hours over lunch, sort of thing. And then
Ah,
that's it, you know. But there's still an old, nice church that I guess some people still use, but that's basically it. You
hmm,
know, it's almost like there's ruins all over
yeah,
town that no one kind of bothers with because, well, no one's ever coming back here. So that's my hypothesis.
yeah, yeah. Or things end up migrating back towards like whatever major city is
Hmm.
there. They start flooding back to
Yeah,
that. Um,
yeah.
when the
It
farmland
just feels
froze.
And it
Yeah.
just feels here in America like our cities are still growing. I mean, we look at Indianapolis and
Hmm.
the urban expansion
Yeah.
that we've experienced in the last 20 years
Yeah.
is wild. I mean, when Molly and I bought this house, I'm not exaggerating, we were surrounded by cornfields. I
Yeah.
mean, every morning we'd look out and there was corn husks, like leaves and stuff, all over our lawn because the night winds would sweep across cornfield. Now you go upstairs and you look out a window and you can't see a cornfield. You know, it's nothing but subdivision.
Yeah. No, like when I go back up to like, because I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where I lived, was like, I remember it was just like a road. And now there's like
Yeah.
a megaplex hospital there, uh, up there
Hmm.
close to where my old house was and stuff. It was like, it's just nuts. And
Yeah.
pisses me off is that they have a Taco Bell that I would have loved when I was a teenager
Right.
growing up there,
Right.
and then they got a Taco Bell. They also got a movie theater, and it closed already. And I'm like, boo!
Oh
You
no.
guys did not treat that right.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, just like so much stuff on that end of town, which used to be like the boonies, and now it's like happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. May not be loaded with like unique like, local restaurants and stuff, but they've got all the
Yeah.
chain shit going on and stuff that
Yeah.
it's insane just to watch stuff
Okay.
grow.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Now I'm bringing it back to Christmas in Willow Creek.
This has been these fun
Do
offshoots of Christmas at Willow Creek.
I know? I know. Okay. Um. I. My first question was going to be, do you recommend people watch it? Spoiler alert, I think I do, but
It's so weird. I think it is.
so
Yeah.
my question, it's like you recommend it. So this is my long way around question. I say we recommend it, but I don't, it's so weird that it's like, okay, I'm going to recommend it as a drinking game. My question for you, Brandon, what's the drinking game that goes with this incredibly bizarre movie?
Oh gosh.
I think you can do a couple rules.
Okay. Yeah. Are you just making them up now, or you have
Yeah,
one
I'm
in
making them
mind?
up.
Um.
I have a thought starter for us. This is like kind of a gimme,
Mhm.
but I think you take a drink every time you see the edit where it's supposed to go to commercial.
Okay, that's fair.
Right. It's a
What
made
about
for TV movie.
every time there's a song that ties into exactly what's going on in screen?
Yeah. Okay.
Because
Well, every time there's a flashback, you can do every time there's a flashback also.
there was that one song where focusing on John Schneider driving at night after he hears his girl's pregnant, and there's the bar stools and babies don't mix song,
That's right.
which is
That's
this like
right.
sad drinking country song.
I started like
So
humming that song. Yeah, Barstools and Babies Don't
because
Mix.
the idea is like it's like it starts out like bar stools and babies don't mix, and then it's blah blah blah. It's like bar stools and babies don't mix. It's like it's
Yeah.
supposed to get all
Oh,
bring it down. There's other songs that are
I gotta learn
weird in
that
this
song.
too. Um, well, you could drink every time the old weird guy who has the most faith in Christmas saving the town.
Who won't come down.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, and he said like Willow Creek is gonna live or die depending on this Christmas. Mark my words.
I think
Uh,
anytime you see him, I think that would be a good one to drink
yeah.
for. Yeah. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. 3 is my lucky number was a bar fight song that they had.
oh yeah. Okay.
You could say off-color things that John Schneider says because he
Well,
tells
that's what I was about to say. I think
there,
whenever John Snyder does something that would like get him in trouble
yeah.
now, like boom,
No truck
drink.
driver wants to be seen with a kid with green hair in Reno. Like,
Yeah, right.
all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, take a shot for that.
Yeah.
That's creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
Why
very,
not, John?
this movie is very sexist and homophobic.
It is.
Like a
It
lot.
is. It is.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
got that
Yeah.
going for it.
Got that going for it. Yeah.
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 It's got, well, I have to wonder if the Confederate flag in Tom Wolpat's son's bedroom is a nod to Dukes of Hazzard in there
Right.
rather than what it
Yeah.
like it's.
That's right. I forgot. I noticed it, but I didn't. I forgot to tie it to Dukes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Also, this is another thing. Like, so this made me want to, and I didn't do it, but I should have. Made me want to go over to Amazon Prime or whatever and look up the Dukes of Hazzard season
Mm-hmm.
and just watch a Dukes of Hazzard Christmas episode. I don't know that they ever did a full-on
Oh.
Christmas thing,
Yeah.
but I am 90% sure that there was some December episode somewhere along the line that like ends with them all in the bar with a Christmas tree. It's not, maybe the whole episode wasn't about Christmas. I'm struggling to remember.
It
I
looks
used to,
on December 19th in 1980, they aired The Great Santa Claus Chase was one of
That
the
rings a bell.
episodes.
okay.
Um,
So this made me want to go back and listen to that, or watch that. But
season 3, episode 10.
I'm here to ask you,
Okay.
have you heard, this is real, the album Home for Christmas by Tom Wopat and John Schneider?
No, I think I've heard of it, but I have not heard it. That sounds familiar.
So I listened to it after watching Willow Creek, went up to Molly's folks, and I had some wrapping to do, so I locked myself in one of like the tiny bedrooms upstairs in this little like farmhouse that they have. And I turned it on and I listened to it start to finish. And it is probably the highest quality piece of art they've ever worked on together. I mean, legitimately,
Really?
Tom Wopat has a lot of Broadway experience. Mainly, I think, in Annie Get Your Gun.
Okay.
But they both had mini music careers after Dukes of Hazzard, like country music and stuff. But Tom Wopat, with his Broadway stuff, he has like up to the classy ante. So this is kind of like a big band record.
Okay.
Not 100%, but it's leaning that way 90%. There are hints of some country feel, but it's sort of a big band jazz record. They share lead vocals. They actually sound pretty good together. If they weren't Bo and Luke Duke, and if they weren't these two guys that you know are kind of cheesy
Mm-hmm.
and kind of goofy, you'd probably just hear the songs and be like, oh, okay, sure, But
Nice
they do
little
this
holiday
weird,
jingle.
yeah, in between songs they do spoken word banter,
Oh,
and you're kind of like, oh wait, what is going on here?
some
Then they
hee-haw
hit
type
you.
stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Or-
like, what's an example? Oh, at the beginning, they're like, hey, pal, hey, buddy, how you doing? Oh, great. It's been a long time since we've celebrated Christmas together. Yeah, it sure has. And, after this,
Yeah.
it'll probably be even longer because they won't let us do it again.
Oh.
Like
Yeah,
it's
that's some like hee-haw
yeah.
I saw Willie Nelson in concert at Farm Aid, and that's kind of the
Oh, dude,
shtick.
me too. I was there.
That's the kind of shtick they
Yeah.
like, cause he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you do. Oh, well, Dad, yeah." Before his son like
Yeah.
turned his guitar down because he was like, "Blah, blah."
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, sure.
Well, the piece de la résistance on the album
Yeah.
is the song Johnny It's Cold Outside.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's the two of them singing.
Oh.
They've rewritten it. So it's like, Johnny, it's cold outside. He's
Oh.
like, I just got a 6-pack of beer. But they keep in the parts that are like, hey, what's in this drink? Like they keep the parts that are a little bit funky. But it's like, my wife's gonna start to worry He's like, "Hey, what's your hurry? The Chargers are on Channel 4 or something." It's like really, it's just two dudes growing out, you know.
Gotcha. Oh man.
And that's when I first heard of that album. That's what they were on, like the Today Show or something, and it was that song that they were
Okay.
that they were like pushing. That was
Oh,
the
that's funny.
single. Yeah.
Wow.
So if you do anything, dear listener, if you decide Christmas at Willow Creek isn't worth your time, pull up on Spotify, Johnny, It's Cold Outside, and we will have influenced your evening for what I believe is the positive, but not
There you
because
go.
it's great.
And you'll
It'll
keep it
just
around
it'll just
every
be in your brain a little bit. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Any more words on Christmas at Willow Creek? Or
Christmas at
Christmas
Willow Creek.
comes to Willow
Christmas
Creek.
comes to Willow Creek. I think all right, here, let's to put a bow on it.
Yeah. A bow and Luke on it.
Oh, I mean,
Merry Christmas, folks. It's for
maybe
you.
we're done. Yeah. No, I'm gonna say to put a bow and a Luke on it. Let's rate it out of 10.
Oh geez. If I if I was seriously rating it, it'd be like a
4,
3 or a
right?
4. Yeah.
Yeah, 4.
3 or 4.
Right.
But in the like, you should check out this really weird Christmas movie the Duke brothers did.
Yeah.
It's a solid rec because
Yeah.
if you're looking for
I
strange
like
Christmas movies, yeah, it's
This
in
is
there
up
with some
there.
of the weirdest. Yeah, because
Yeah.
yeah,
If you're recommending this to somebody, go check out the Star Wars Holiday Special, not because it's good, but because it's like a cultural
What?
thing. You'll
Yeah.
giggle a little bit, whatever. It's like, oh, and
you'll excruciatingly get to the finish line because it's
right.
long.
Well, you're right. The Star Wars one is long. I think this one might be more watchable than Star
Yeah.
Wars.
I prefer so one of the YouTube
yeah.
channels that has the Star Wars Holiday Special has the commercials from that time
Yes.
still in there,
Yeah.
and that's the one I watch because I'm like,
Well,
I need the full era coming to me with this.
And I wish that was true also with Christmas Comes to Willow Creek. I
Mhm.
feel like the vibe would be similar.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. If you're like talking about this like a quality of movie, yeah, 3 or 4, it's tough.
Yeah.
I don't give it 0 because you still have, I mean, at least you think it makes sense at the start. You still have like some
Mhm.
setup. They show you the goal, they show you the
Right.
conflict, and they work through a conflict. Like there's some elements of storytelling here. But no, I agree with you. If you're just like, if someone's like, oh, what's like I'm gonna have a party and I just want something on in the background that's like hilarious and
Yeah.
weird. It's like, oh, 10 out of 10, Christmas Comes to Willow Creek will suffice.
Well, if
Like,
you're having people over
it'll
and
put the
stuff,
vibe out.
and there's some drinks and stuff, and you're all watching this together, you're probably gonna enjoy. I would say
have a
it's
good
good
time.
for a movie party. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
you're gonna have a good time.
For sure.
Well, thanks for letting me talk about it, man.
No
I mean,
problem.
this,
One to
yeah.
remember. One to remember. I think we might have talked more on topic about the Folgers 30-second TV spot there.
That was one of the episodes I'm proudest of, and
That's
actually,
a good one.
as a holiday tradition, I need to go watch Peter Comes Home,
Yep, Peter Comes Home.
parts 1 and 2.
So before you go to watch that, where can people keep up with you currently and
I'm-
what you got going on?
I'm glad you asked. I'm gonna kind of go into my creative hole a little bit here. But you can find me on Substack. I write an email newsletter that I'm proud of. And that email newsletter, it doesn't seem like it right now, but I've been sort of thematically driving toward what my next book is going to be about.
Gotcha.
Find me, Press Maxson. Substack, of course, you can find me on Instagram, just @PRESMAXSON. And there's a link to Substack from there anyway.
Gotcha.
That's it. Thanks for asking.
No problem. All right. And I'm on the socials at Brandon Porky UHD, including Blue Sky. It's pleasant over there. I'm
yeah.
I'm sort of in a weird spot. Don't know if I'll be off next week or not, but whatever the case, my top 4K UHD Blu-rays is going to be coming up, and also the top films of 2024 will be coming up. I don't know when they're popping. They're just going to pop when they pop. So I'm going to enjoy this holiday season myself and
You should
relax.
have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, a happy set of holidays, and
Right.
yeah, we're looking forward to the next time we hang out. As always.
Heck yeah, for sure. But yeah, you'll indeed have stuff to consume from here. Go back to the old stuff too. Celebrate this. Do all the holiday classics. If we talk about watching movies, you should listen to our holiday episodes every year that we're putting together the wildest catalog possible. I may select the one next time. We don't know.
Please.
We'll
find out this summer. We'll find out this summer.
We'll find out this summer. So yeah, until then, have a happy holidays, safe holidays, and stay film positive.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.